I'm Sarah Evans.
All right.
Jason Thompson, Assistant Scoutmaster.
Jeff Harrison, Assistant Scoutmaster.
You want to go ahead and get your picture with the mayor, with the group? Yep. Got somebody who'll take that picture? All right. She's on it. Now for the fun part, you guys get to stick around, right, for the whole council meeting? Is that... All right. We'll move on to the very exciting part of the Finance Committee report. John, would you like to...
This real exciting part of the meeting, talk about financial stuff. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us tonight. The Budget and Finance Committee meeting was last Wednesday here at City Hall up in the conference room. We have a few items on the agenda tonight that we recommend for approval. Item 7B on the consent agenda, authorizing the controller transfers certain city funds. In the budget financial side, item 9 and item 10. With respect to those items we recommended for approval on there, there is a report that's attached on the packet that's online. In addition, we had some discussions about how our year ended up. We ended up in a even better financial position than what we thought with our reserves. Our cash balances were probably one of the strongest, if not in the state, probably in the country from a fiscal perspective. Lastly, we did have I had a conversation as Budget Finance Chair with our audit firm. We are one of the few cities in the entire state that have an independent audit done by a CPA firm. We're not audited by the state of Indiana, which we're really proud of. And our audit firm is BKD, which is one of the largest CPA firms in our region. They've audited our city probably for the last 3 or 4 years with an unqualified opinion. Certainly looking for that again, but they have to go through that process. So at that point, the Budget Finance Committee was adjourned. Any questions?
Questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it very much. Moving on to the Health Department report. If you go online, you can click on the attachment. There's a 2-page document. And what will be wonderful is as we emerge from COVID, you'll see what the other things the Health Department does. So please read that and be familiarized with it. It's not just COVID. It's a lot of aspects. We appreciate them. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. On to item 8, R022122B, a resolution approving project agreement by and among 96th Street Investors, LLC, the City of Fishers, the City of Fishers Economic Development Commission, and the City of Fishers Redevelopment Commission.
Thank you. For the record, Megan Baumgartner, Director of Community and Economic Development for the City of Fishers. Tonight we have a very, very exciting project agreement for your consideration. This is a project that has been a long time coming and a piece of property that's been a big question mark for our community for a long time. So we're thrilled to announce and go through our agreement tonight with CRG Residential and the 96th Street Investment Group for their proposed project at 96 in Allisonville. So just to recap some of the highlights of this project, the total investment is proposed or is anticipated to be $98 million on the 82 acres that CRG has purchased. This project also then leads to the reconstruction of the intersection at 96 and Allisonville, which is currently a Michigan left to a roundabout. We're anticipating that, and you'll find that's in the agreement that that should be completed within 24 months approximately. CRG is also donating approximately 25 additional acres of parkland for the White River Park that we're pursuing along the White River and 96th Street. This concept does include 380 market rate multifamily units, so those are standard market for rent apartments. It also includes for sale townhomes and 4 new retail outlets. For anyone who's driven along that corridor recently, you'll see that the old Walgreens, which is included in this project, that was torn down. So we really are excited to see the transformation that takes place. Since this is such a convoluted and complicated site, I wanted to quickly go over kind of the zoning history of what's taken place here. So in 2006, the then town council approved the PUD and the project agreement for the River Place concept. So this project included a lot of commercial, a lot of retail, a lot of multifamily units, and that PUD is on the left side. In 2016, when the city started our 2040 comp plan process, the Future Land Use Committee designated River Place, the 96 in Allisonville area that we're talking about tonight, as a special study area. Nobody could really identify what the best use of that site is, just because of its location, some of the access challenges, and some of the environmental areas in it. In 2021, so last year, we went through our 5-year update for our comp plan. At that time, the Future Land Use Committee decided to designate the areas that you'll see on the screen on your right-hand side. So in the corner at 96 in Allisonville, that was designated as an area service node, which includes retail. In the middle tan area, that is designated as neighborhood mixed use, so that includes some retail with mixed use residential. And then the orange is designated as attached residential. And all of the green space, obviously, is our parks and open space. So we feel that this concept that CRG is proposing aligns really well with that. It preserves this great amenity along the White River, and I think that it's going to be an incredible project for our community. Just to quickly go through the proposed concept plan for this. So this is turned on its side so I could zoom in a little bit, so hopefully you don't have to turn your head to the side too much. But in the middle, you'll see this is the mixed use area of the project. Here are the for sale townhomes, the new retail outlots. This is the area that CRG is donating allocating an additional 25 acres to our park. And then this is the full concept of the White River Park Plan that the city had actually submitted through the READY grant through the state. And you may have seen the news back in January that we, as our region, did receive $20 million for that submission. So that goes around a lot of different municipalities, but our project for the White River Park and being able to start creating amenities, trails, public restroom, that was an included and approved project. So we're hopeful to see that and continue to pursue those state funds to be able to use that. And to review our project agreement terms for this project, so the city obligation. So the city is proposing a developer purchased and backed bond. This is great for the city because, again, the risk is on the developer. The bond amount will not exceed $21 million. If you'll, in your project agreement, the Exhibit E, I believe, is blank. We're still trying to finalize what that financial summary will be with Baker Tilly. We're also requesting an impact fee credit. So with their contribution of 25 acres of parkland and also a road that they will be constructing, you'll see this through the middle, they're putting in significant road infrastructure to make this a usable site. So we're requesting an impact fee credit towards that. The intent then is that those credits are able to go towards the roundabout. And then also a sewer fee waiver, which is about $900,000. The developer obligations, in addition to completing the concept plan, so including the multifamily retail and partnering with a townhome developer for the townhomes, they're also obligated to contribute $2.5 million in cash at closing towards the roundabout, plus the impact fee credit amounts. They'll also dedicate those 25 acres of parkland and then also dedicate the right-of-way for the roundabout. So for everyone who's been through some of these projects with us, the acquisition of the roundabout land can be pretty costly, especially since this is a very big intersection. So this is a significant benefit to the community for that part of the project. Tonight, Dave Powers with CRG is here to share a few words, and then we can both open this up to questions from council. Dave?
Thanks, everybody. Dave Powers with CRG Residential, CFO. Chris Reed, unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight, but on behalf of Chris, as well as the CRG team, just wanted to say thank you to the entire city team, the mayor, Megan, and obviously, of course, the city council. We're humbled by this opportunity. We think it's a great project. We're really, really excited, and we appreciate your consideration tonight.
And we're happy to answer any questions and go over anything for council.
First of all, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pete. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by John. We'll open it up for comment. You want to start?
Yeah, I have a question. Have we done a traffic study where the roundabout is planned? And is that a final decision, the roundabout, or are we still looking at it?
So that is being finalized right now. The design is not finalized for the roundabout, so as part of the design of it, we will have that traffic study. I think all indications are right now that it will be a roundabout, since going back to a stoplight isn't gonna be the best for continued traffic movement. Do you have another suggestion, like do you want a California right turn? Yeah.
No, I think to Megan's point, as we reviewed options to improve access for the retail and commercial components of this intersection, really the roundabout is the only thing that actually fits there and does the job. The only other options you really have at your disposal are, again, going back to the traditional stoplight or a separated grade, like they're talking about at Allisonville and 146, and that would decimate all of the commercial areas. So not only do we think the roundabout fits within the right-of-way, CRG within the development agreement is willing to donate the right-of-way we need to build it. And then we're hoping that we can salvage some of the concrete that's already there to build out the roundabout. So all in all, it really is the best option moving forward. We do not have the specific concept plan or the design laid out, so we could show you the limits of that, but we'll be working on that shortly.
Yeah, I was looking at the map. Are you gonna have roundabouts going into just west?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It's something we're evaluating right now from a budget perspective and then also a need. Because as each one of those stoplights that are just down the road from the intersection, there could be a scenario where roundabouts replace those stoplights. It's just budget contingent and really traffic volume, whether it's best return on investment. But long-term, that's definitely a possibility.
Anything else, David?
No.
All right, Jocelyn?
Yes, a couple questions. Can you share a little bit about, I think my concern is more about the kind of arc of the project and involving citizens, neighbors in this area, and also citizens that read about it, like in the Indianapolis Star the other day. What steps are being taken to engage? This is a transformative project, and it's exciting. And I think the removal of the Michigan left has stolen some of the, the thunder of the project. This is an amazing project. Can you share with us a little bit about how citizens are being engaged, not only in our overall community, but also there are many that are affected right here?
Sure. So I believe that during our park process, so we're, again, looking at the bare bones and infrastructure of that right now through the Ready Grant program. I anticipate us having some sort of public comment opportunities, some ability to help contribute ideas to how the riverfront park will look. But then for the normal development itself, again, all of the 2040 comp plans, that was all open for years for additional comment. So it is a transformative project. Residents who would be impacted by the rezone would get notified. But I think kind of standard to a normal large redevelopment, I don't believe that the developer intends to do any sort of additional outreach. I can ask Dave though.
Yeah, we certainly, as we do with all projects, certainly of this size, we'll do our best to have discussions with all the immediately surrounding neighbors the extent it makes sense.
I think one of the things I think about in this project that is optimal when it comes to engaging at least close proximity, I don't mean to be flippant about this, but your closest neighbor is a cemetery, and the other one is a wastewater treatment plant facility on the north side. I think where we do really have a great opportunity to engage residents is we've been able to secure a significant tract of land for park purposes, 125 acres. And we really haven't even, what you see up here is a concept plan for illustrative purposes. Jocelyn, to your point and your concern, I think we have a really great opportunity for people who are passionate about the White River, who are passionate about nature and conservancy, that we can sit down and really think about what we want to do there. There's going to be time to really craft that vision together collectively, and then work with our partners south of 96th Street too, because there's land and trails that we could connect up to that could really make this a dynamic area. So I think we've positioned ourselves well to be able to be in a position to even have that conversation and create something that everyone can be a part of.
I agree with that, and I'll, just mention, I have received comments from citizens that just heard about it. I'll just state again, for me, the concern I have is these are tremendous, when we have these tremendous projects, and I think it would be wise to facilitate bringing our citizens along with us in this. The turnaround time for such a tremendous project, citizens, if they were paying attention or reading Indianapolis Star, would have just heard about it just a few days ago. And this is a big project with not only environmental concerns, but it is substantial and transformative. And I just want to be sure our citizens are as comfortable about it as we all should be. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So through our Ready Grant application and the funding there's a lot of public engagement that'll go into that. So I do anticipate, just like the mayor said, us being able to work with the community. I mean, this is 125 acres of an area that most people don't even drive past. I mean, when you get out onto that site, it is pretty incredible. So it would be a waste for us not to engage the community and bring people out there to make sure that we can maximize it. So we'll make sure as our team and with Sarah that we begin looking at opportunities to bring people together for it.
Thanks. I think that's important. Thank you for that.
Well, just a couple things. Chris, we were able to acquire some land over there, if I'm not mistaken, correct? And you were, and I'm gonna give you this credit here, you did an outstanding job. We bought how much?
98 acres,
For how much?
not a lot of money.
Okay,
There was a prior commitment there through
Yeah.
Previous development opportunity with the town of Fishers that we were able to continue that commitment with and secure about almost 99 acres of property to enhance the park.
yeah, and the other thing that surprised me when I think we actually went back there and looked at, there's actually a cemetery back there. Some may not know that, but there's a cemetery back there. If I recall, CRG's committed to restore that cemetery, and I appreciate that just out of respect for the deceased. I mean, I'm sure those folks, they have nobody that visits that cemetery anymore because it's a very old cemetery, but I wanted to recognize you folks for doing that. Just some general comments about the project. I've been driving by 96 in Allisonville for many, many years. When I first moved up here in 1992, 96th Street did not go all the way through, as you may recall. It ended at Allisonville Road on the 96 if you're heading west. If I recall, there was an old farmhouse that was sitting there. Then we had some plans to do some redevelopment. And unfortunately, they fell through, and they just didn't happen. There was a lot of, certainly, dreams about what that could be. And then before my time, just for the record, we put out the Michigan Left, and unfortunately, it has not been successful, for better, for worse, and saw a lot of retail come into that area, and a lot of retail, unfortunately, leave. There's some retail that's still left, but it's very strong retail. It's a Mexican restaurant that's excellent food, and a kolache factory that is my firm's favorite breakfast on Fridays when I bring in breakfast during busy season for my CPA firm. If there's an argument for this type of financing and redeveloping a project, this is kind of the poster child for that, in my opinion. we're going to have an incredible amount of park space, some retail, some apartments, and some townhomes as well, that all come together and build a sense of community. And we've never really had that kind of vision until now. And I think it's going to be long-term a great project for us. I would hear a number of complaints from a condo that's on the northeast side at 96 in Allisonville complaining. In fact, it was even on TV, folks cutting through their subdivision. This eliminates that. This creates a traffic pattern that'll work. So I'm very excited about this. I'm excited about what it could be. Certainly excited to hear back from the community about it as well, get feedback from them, and make sure we certainly uplift what they have to say and offer to make it even better. But I'm in support of this project. So great job. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is a fabulous project, and just a little bit of a funny note. So I knew someone that was working in the construction, laying the concrete for the Michigan left. He told me back at that time, he says, "Don't worry, the city of Fishers will be back to me at some point to redo this intersection." I remember that comment. And here we are, and I think this is a good thing. A lot of people, you know, the Michigan left does make traffic move, but a lot of people don't like the Michigan left, and I truly get it. So I'm glad for the roundabout. I do have a question here. We talked about putting, you know, possibly in the future, putting roundabouts at the entrances to the main road. And you said, is that main road, is that going to be a public road or a private road?
It'll be a public road, so they'll construct it and then dedicate it back to the city at the end of their project.
Okay, that was my question. I had a concern. I don't like public roads because I can see
Private
people.
roads.
Or
You don't like
private
private
roads.
roads, yeah.
It's a private roads. I can see people using that as a cut through if there's something going on at that intersection, and I want to make sure that we have that road, so.
Well, and it also serves, that public road is the key to our access to the future park that we're building. So our ability
Okay.
to get back there will be on that road.
Again, I think, you know, as John so succinctly pointed out, okay, and he and I are the old guys on the council now. I believe in the Michigan left was put in there when John and I were not on council and the mayor wasn't the mayor. And the mayor and their public works director have taken a litany of texts from me over the years on how much I really enjoy that Michigan left. So let's leave that aside because I think it's a great project. I will point out that there's no right-of-way, at least currently under the initial design, that would need to be taken other than the dedicated portion coming from Chris Reed Group on that one corner. We think we can fit it into the current pattern there, which is huge, if we could pull that off, because those other corners are going to be expensive if we've got to go out and start to buy them. So I encourage the designer of choice, which I think he already has one, to get that right so we can pull that off, and I believe we can, looking at it. You know, as I said, John and I, being on here the longest, and for those folks who have been on here as long as John and I have, this has got to be the fourth iteration and maybe the fifth iteration of project that we're potentially going to go on that corner. This corner has been talked about for eons. I mean, everybody knows it's been a problematic corner from all sorts of reasons, where we've had a lot of business failure because it really wasn't all that well thought out with the growth that we've had over there. I think the Chris Reed Group and the project which they put for us has given a lot of thought to this project, and I think, you know, if somebody can pull it off, it would be his group. I will tell you that his group, which is building their building right across from my headquarters over here, okay, has done a fabulous job and has been a fabulous neighbor to all the businesses around there during construction, which is not always the easiest thing to do. So I applaud them for doing that, and I look forward to the continued good development that they're known for doing. As it stands, I'm hugely supportive of this, not only for them getting rid of the Michigan left, but I think it's also going to add some valuable housing stock, which we do need. I love the fact that it's a developer-backed TIF. That's another big one for us, and the public doesn't always understand all that, but that's a huge non-impact on the city and its financials. So again, kudos to Chris and his group for doing that. So I can't say any more positive things about this particular project that I am absolutely in favor of.
Sure, I'm also excited about this project because it's long overdue. Like Pete had said, this has been looked at so many times, and I think this is a great example of how the city and your team leverage, grant dollars, grant money, ways to save money to make infrastructure improvements and to provide a better quality of life. And I'm excited that this will transform that corridor. It is the entrance to Fishers coming up from north on 96th Street. And I hope that that will be the catalyst that will help to drive redevelopment and revitalization to that whole Allisonville corridor going north. I was wondering about working with the businesses during construction, like if you had planned to maybe have something like the 31-7 or the 37 project business coalition, something along to just kind of help the surrounding businesses around there during the construction. Were there plans?
I think we'll certainly get into that as we contemplate the maintenance of traffic and construction. I know that in the conversations with some of the businesses around there, they can't wait for the Michigan left to go away and are willing to stomach some of the pain of that just so it's done. But we always want to be sensitive to access and issues like that. So, right now our goal is to build this next year. That's a very aggressive timeline. And we'll be working on maintenance of traffic. We also want to be sensitive to other construction projects in the area. Clear Path, the project at I-69, 465, it's going to be something we'll be watching very closely in terms of how those traffic patterns interact. But yeah, absolutely, we'll make sure to be cognizant of the businesses and how they're impacted during construction.
Great. And then I was just wondering on the timeline of the park, you think, when would that be?
We need to formalize the READY grant that Megan spoke about is still in flux to some degree about the total amount of funding that we're going to receive. We feel confident that we will receive some funding, just how much we're not certain yet. They switched the READY funding to ARP funds, so there's going to be additional strings attached to being able to use those funds. So that may slow things down to some degree. I would tell you that I anticipate whatever funding we do receive will not be enough to complete the park in 100% completion, but it will certainly be enough to get us started in trails and probably a trailhead, things like that. So I would say that's probably in the next 24 months we would start doing some work on the park. Mm-hmm. And really, to be honest with you, until they build the road and provide access, there's no way to get to it anyways, so we have a little bit of time.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to say from a sustainability lens, I'm really excited about this project in terms of the nature, the trails, as well as your commitment to preserving the trees. So I'm super excited about it. Thank you so much for your hard work on this.
My first concern, because I had to manage a cemetery, was the cemetery being brought up to date. And then do we deed that to Delaware Township, or how do we handle that?
That's the intent, is to convey it to the township. I don't know legally how you do that, but I assume that's
Yeah. That,
well, the nuances of how you transfer it over, we'll figure out.
I just don't want it to get lost in the loop, because it's very important to me to respect those who've gone before us. Thank you.
So we have a motion by Pete, a second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain. Okay, thank you.
Todd, or maybe Megan, before we move on, can you just share a little bit about the next steps? This was the project agreement that was just approved. That is the partnership between the developer and the city with the vision of the project. Can you share, like, what happens now as you move into implementation? Again, I'm just still thinking in terms of citizen engagement here.
Sure. So for the separating it into the development piece and then the park piece. So for the development, they'll go back and we'll look at PUD and updating that PUD. So that's where they'll finalize the design concepts, renderings, elevations. And then that would be part of the public hearing through the Plan Commission and PUD. And then from the park perspective, as the mayor mentioned, we're still finalizing how we apply, what sort of regulations we have to follow in terms of bidding out for the project, which buys us a lot of time to be able to start looking at opportunities to put concepts out there. Megan and the planning and zoning team, Brad alluded to it, did a great job at hosting a large neighborhood meeting. That got a lot of feedback online and kind of utilized some new tools. So I feel like that could be something that we look at for some potential options. But the concept plan that we're showing definitely is a 20-year kind of big vision. And so I think that we have a lot of time and space and opportunity to make sure that it's right.
Sounds good. And a public hearing will be at the
I don't know
Plan
if we've finalized when you'll come for PUD yet, but I would imagine within the next 2 to 3 months, they'll come for first reading and then go through council, PUD committee, plan commission, and back to council. So we'll make sure to provide an update.
And the public hearing is at the Plan Commission?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for walking through that. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to item 9, R022122A, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Fishers, Indiana, approving a lease between the Fishers Town Hall Building Corporation as lessor and the Fishers Redevelopment Commission as lessee with respect to the Highland Project.
Thank you. For the record, Lisa Bradford, City Controller. So I'm going to talk about the next 2 items together because they're interrelated. So the next 2 items on the agenda relate to our 081621C, and that was a resolution approving a project agreement with Envoy 106 Fishers LLC that was approved by the City Council at the August 16th meeting. So this is for the project site generally located on the southeast corner of 106th and Kincaid Boulevard. So as part of that project agreement, the expected total development cost for the project is around $52 million. And as part of the project agreement, the city will issue bonds based upon the final estimated assessed value of the project. The City Council also approved the new PUD for the development concept. So as part of the development agreement, there is a minimum taxpayer agreement for the full amount of the debt service. So the debt will be 100% covered by the tax increment financing, but if for some reason the tax increment financing were to not come through, there is the minimum taxpayer agreement to cover the debt service. At the time, we're still evaluating the project, so we don't have the final bond proceeds, but as is standard in development projects, there'll be a ban first, and so the ban allows the project to be constructed and then the tax increment to start generating before you pay the debt service. So that's kind of some background for you. So the ordinance, which is up for first reading, approves the issuance of taxable economic development bonds and lending those proceeds to the Town Hall Building Corporation for the purposes of financing this project. And so the Town Hall Building Corporation will be paid, excuse me, by lease rental revenues received by the Town Hall Building Corporation pursuant to the lease with the RDC. And so that lease is what you'll be approving with the resolution. So as part of the process, Town Hall Building Corporation and Redevelopment Commission previously met and have approved the leases. The Economic Development Commission met previously today and approved the financing, and the public hearing related to these bonds was held at that meeting. So that's the ordinance, and then as I mentioned, the resolution is kind of the second step, which approves the lease and allows the financing to flow back and forth and the repayment of the bonds.
Thank you very much. We have a motion.
Motion to approve item 9.
Motion by Pete. We have a second. Second by Selena. We'll open it up for discussion. Any comments or questions from council? With none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Aye. Nay and one, okay, 1 nay. Thank you very much.
And then on the second item, item 10, I'll give it a first reading.
Go ahead.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
move on. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 11, 022122A, an ordinance adding chapter 36.62 to the City of Fishers Code of Ordinances.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, Ross Hillary, City of Fishers, Planning and Zoning Department. It is with great pleasure that I present the first reading of Ordinance 022122A, the creation of the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability. This ordinance would add Chapter 32.62 to the City Code, which would establish this committee. The purpose of that committee is to assist the city's efforts on becoming a community where persons of all abilities are recognized as a key component to our vibrancy. They would also establish priorities and strategies to address various challenges and needs facing the disability community, as well as promote inclusion and accessibility and strive to make Fishers a community where people with physical and intellectual disabilities can live life without limits. The structure of the committee will comprise of 9 voting members to be appointed by the mayor, 2 designated co-chairs, and up to 4 non-voting staff members who would serve 2-year terms. The ordinance goes into detail that the committee members should comprise Fishers residents who are at least one of the following: professionals in advocacy, inclusion, and services to people with disabilities, people who have experienced unique challenges by living with a disability, an employee of the HSU school system who is part of the Division of Exceptional Learners, a family member or caregiver, or an employee who actively employs a person or people with disabilities. The ordinance also goes into details the duties, powers, and procedures, including guidance on March Disability Awareness Month, our ADA transition plan, and working in partnership with local employees and community partners to increase employment and meaningful work opportunities. 10 years ago, in 2012, the ADA Citizens Task Force was formed to inform staff with accessibility priorities as a requirement of the town's ADA transition plan. Since that time, the task force continues to meet quarterly, providing and gathering resources for the community. In 2016, the city recognized the first March Disability Awareness Month in Fishers, and in 2017 was renamed the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability and received the Champion of Inclusion Award from the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities for the advocacy. Since 2016, March Disability Awareness Month in Fishers has championed inclusion, collaboration, and acceptance for all people in Fishers. This effort has had a positive impact on more than just the people with disabilities in our community and has become an achievement for which other communities strive. This year's theme is Achieving More Together. Events this year includes a kickoff and award ceremony, Fishers Park's March Story Walk, 2 one-zone events, the Transition Fair hosted at HSC High School, the Prism Project Spring Performance, sponsored by the Fishers Art and Cultural Commission, Fishers Music Works presents a Beethoven concert, several workshops throughout the month hosted by Hamilton East Public Library, and a virtual breakfast with the mayor with the annual My Point of View Day. Staff does recommend that council holds first reading of the ordinance. Prior to that, I'd like to hand it over to Councilor Coble, and we'll finish it off with the committee's co-chair, Kelly Hartman, to say a few words.
Thank you, Ross. I just want to thank everyone that's been involved in this cause and in this initiative to include people with disabilities in the fabric of our vibrancy and our city, helping to provide more inclusion, accessibility, employment opportunities, housing. We face many challenges. I, being a parent of a child with disability, I know my fellow counselor, Selena Staller, also has an adult child with disabilities. So this is something important to both of us. But I want to thank the staff, Ross Hillary as our ADA coordinator, and the mayor and his team for giving us this opportunity. And we've made an impact, not just in Fishers, but in Hamilton County. So much so that last year, the city of Carmel, they codified a Carmel Advisory Committee on Disability in their ordinance. The city of Lawrence has, and Westfield and Noblesville are looking at doing so here in the next coming months as well. And so it's long time now. It's been a long time to really codify this and to make this part of the fabric of our community. And I really appreciate the support of the council members and the elected officials that have been part of these discussions, because it's been a collaborative experience and a community effort that has been engaged in trying to find solutions and meet the challenges and the needs of people with disabilities. So it looks like it's first reading, but I was wondering if we might want to suspend the rules, Chris, if we could suspend the rules and approve it today, or we could approve it next month if it's the will of the council.
It's up to the will of the council.
Why don't you make the motion? Go
So,
for it.
okay. So with that, then, I'm going to make a motion to suspend the rules. Okay, and then I'd like to make a motion to codify the Fishers.
Well, let's do the vote
That's
right,
right,
first.
you're right.
Okay, so motion by Cecilia, second by Selena. Is that, yep. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now. go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm so excited.
Yes, just keep rolling.
So I'd like to make a motion to codify and approve the ordinance to establish a Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability.
Motion by Cecilia, second by Selena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I just want to say to Counselor Coble, I mean, her work since 2015, right? I think, 16, on this has been nothing short of amazing. And the work she puts year-round, I believe, into the month of March. And obviously, it's not just about March, right? That's an awareness month, but all year long for disability awareness is fantastic. So please, if you don't know much about this, get a hold of Counselor Coble, look on our Fishers website, get involved. Even if you don't have, I mean, most of us, even our families, there's some family member with a disability, I'm sure. And I just or we know somebody that's close to us. So I just encourage you to see reach out to the resources, see what's available there, because it's pretty profound.
I agree with Todd. Cecilia, you've done just a fantastic job with this. And the first meeting I attended, you said you can sit at that table over there, and it turned out to be the old man's table. But I met a lady that was involved with dementia, and her and I have put together for the last few years out in Britton Falls, we go block by block teaching Dementia Friends of Indiana. And my gosh, it's amazing when you get into just a block of people that know each other and let their guard down. That's how I'm learning. We have over 80 people out there with some level of dementia. So I thank you for getting me involved and the great job that you've done. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Well, this is, like I said, it's a team effort. And actually, if President Zimmerman, if I could just have our co-chair, I'm a co-chair of the Fishers Advisory Committee on Disability along with Kelly Hartman, and I think she wanted to say a few words on behalf of the committee.
Well, I think I'm the most emotional person in the room.
It's okay.
Don't cry because you'll make me cry. I'm not going to cry. I am going to cry. When I read this the first time it came through my email, I cried. And I'm trying to keep it together. But I wanted to thank Mayor Scott Fadness for being visionary. I think of you as this guy with this big Monopoly board, you know, and how exciting it is. But the exciting thing is that you want Fishers to be awesome for all people. As a citizen of Fishers, that's a really big deal. I've been working for things, disability and inclusion and deinstitutionalization and just generally wanting all people to be included for 32 years. And I've traveled all over the country, and I work on national boards and work all over the state of Indiana. And for those of you that are here tonight, this is really, really rare to have a city moving forward in this way. And so thank you to you guys for your leadership. I think most of all, I want to thank those folks that I was sitting over there. I felt really special sitting with staff. Your commitment and collaboration on these things has been really helpful, especially in March. And lastly, I just want to thank you, Cecilia, for continuing to believe that this was a possibility. Your tenacity is really beyond reproach, and the city's really lucky to have your leadership.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kelly.
Just remember those words when we get called names and stuff about what we do. Just remember all those words to keep you going. Excellent job by all. We're gonna move, items here kind of got out of order a little bit to where we want to go. So we want to take item 18, move that up in front of item 12, because it'll help with the flow of some of these items. So item 18, am I correct, Chris? Did I get that right? Is that item 18? All right. 122021A, consideration of a rezone. Go ahead, Ross.
Good evening. For the record, Ross Hillary, Planning and Zoning. Before you tonight is Ordinance 122021A, the Courtyards of Fishers PUD. Fager Drinker, on behalf of EPCON, is requesting approval of a rezone for R2 to PUDR for the Courtyards of Fishers PUD. This petition seeks to rezone 22.1 acres of vacant R2 land to PUDR to construct a 50-lot, single-family, age-targeted residential subdivision. The comprehensive plan future land use for this property is low-density suburban residential. Location of this development is located at the intersection of East 113th Street and Southeastern Parkway, directly east of the Grantham subdivision currently under construction. Staff provided this chart in the staff report and a plan commission that shows a side-by-side comparison of the proposed standards versus the underlying R5 standards, which is a reduced lot area, reduced lot frontage, front, side, and rear side setbacks, and an increase of the maximum impervious area of the lot. On the left, you will see the concept plan for the PUD, which includes pedestrian connectivity to the west, 50 total lots, a trail connectivity along 113th and Southeastern Parkway, and the dedication of right-of-way for intersection improvements. On the right, you'll see a rendering of the product that will allow the residents to utilize their side yard through a courtyard-style footprint. Downspouts for this development will be connected directly to the community's water quality system. The PUD ordinance also includes landscape standards that require all landscaping in common areas, open space, and plantings on the individual lot to be native and drought tolerant. The architectural home elevations were approved at the PUD committee on February 9th by a vote of 4-0. Plan Commission did hold a public hearing on February 9th as well. Prior to that meeting, one letter of remonstration was received by Councilor DeReamer. 2 residents spoke at the public hearing, concerned that the area was no longer estate residential in nature and that the development does not match the future land use plan. The property, though, is zoned R2 residential, and as I said earlier, the future land use plan does call for low-density suburban residential. The developer did meet one-on-one with some neighbors between the first reading and the public hearing, and all concerns that were brought up at that time were addressed in updates to the ordinance, including additional landscaping standards. Plan Commission did send a favorable recommendation to City Council by a vote of 9-0. Staff recommends that Council holds final reading and approves the ordinance as presented. Staff is available to answer any questions. I will also note that Mr. Swafford with Fager Drinker, the petitioner, and Mr. Longfellow with EPCON Communities, the developer, are here to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much, Ross. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pete. Do I have a second? Second by Selena. We'll open up for discussion. Go ahead and start. But does the petitioner want to say anything? This final reading?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Sam Swafford. I'm an associate attorney at the law firm of Fager Drinker. Happy to be here tonight representing EPCON Communities, and obviously filling in for Steve Harden tonight. Here tonight with EPCON is Brooks Longfellow, and from our office, Mark Leach. I want to thank Ross for the excellent overview of the project. And only thing I wanted to highlight was the unanimous favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission and the PUD Committee earlier this month. I have no other substantive things to add, but I would like to open it up or give Brooks the podium to talk a little bit more about EPCON and what they're all about.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. For the record, Brooks Longfellow with EPCON Communities. I just want to tell you a little bit about EPCON. We've celebrated our 35th year in business this past year, and unlike several builders that you may be familiar with, we solely focus on the empty nester segment of the buyer group. And it was great to hear all the comments earlier in the executive committee around the need for an empty nester product. because we've only built for empty nesters over the past 35 years, we've taken great opportunity to survey our buyers as well as those that are of that age population, to understand what they need in their homes and what makes a home work for them to age in place until such time that they need assistance from a third party and can no longer live in a residence by themselves. So some of the things that you find is the unique courtyard on the side that allows them to enjoy an outdoor space in a private setting and not be in the fishbowl that so many of us see as you look at communities around the city and around the country. In addition, the zero entry options that we offer in all of our homes. So you can pull in our driveway, you can get out of your car, you can walk in the home through the front door or through the garage and not take a step. You can walk all the way through the home, through wider hallways, wider doorways, into your master bathroom and into your shower even without taking a step, all giving all of our residents the ability to stay as long as possible. We offer universal options for those who need that in their home, and again, helping them age in place. I think you will see in the price point, we're going to be from $425 at our lowest price point for our smallest home, and then $650,000 for our largest home, and our transactions will average around $575,000. Similar to what you guys talked about earlier in the executive session as well, we find that our buyers come from 3 to 5 miles away from whichever neighborhood we're building homes in. They want to stay in the city that they've lived in for so long, close to friends, to family, church, doctors, so on and so forth, that they've come to know and love and still be part of the community. The other portion, which is about a quarter of our buyers, they are individuals who are looking to be closer to the grandkids. And their sons and daughters live in the community, and they're raising their kids in the fine schools of Fishers, and they want to be close to them so they can enjoy that time as a grandparent as they grow up. So again, thank you for your time. If you have questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion, a second. Brad, you want to start? We'll go this way. Is that okay?
Yeah, couple of comments. Your $650,000, that's $240 a square foot. Del Webb is seniors, 90% of them have moved here for the grandkids, not to retire in Fishers, but to come be near the grandkids. My home, I paid $85 a square foot. The average home in Del Webb is $344,000. I don't know how you're going to market $650,000 to seniors. We downsize, not upsize. The request, it's an R2 zoning. Staff says that it's an R5. It's not even close to an R5. The lot area is minus 1,500 in an R5. Minus 18 feet lot width, minus 15 feet lot frontage, minus 5 feet side setback, minus 5 feet to the rear. So it's not even close to an R5. So using that term R5 is not realistic. The thing of developers keep coming with PUDs. And I mentioned this at the last meeting, and if I repeat myself, I apologize, but I've been on the council 6 years, and I have never seen a subdivision built with R1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100% of them have been PUD, and I could be wrong. Okay? With the way that we're allowing developers to come in here with a PUD, smaller lots to help them maximize profit, is not what we're elected for. At least not in Britton Falls. You've heard all the complaints. And Britton Falls is against this project too. One 5-foot setback. That 5-foot side setback with a side patio up against the wall of your neighbor. One of my neighbors is 250 feet away. He lets his dog out at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock on his screen porch, and I can hear it bark for 10 minutes inside my home. start issuing building permits. That's how I feel, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other residents of Fisher feel the same way. They keep telling me. And after my talk at the last meeting, I've been inundated with emails and phone calls and texts. Thank you for defending me being the resident of Fisher. The other are not. And they are getting tired. I, last month, asked the HOAs in my area that have a private Facebook page if they would allow me to join it. I don't live there, but allow me to join it. This has only been 30 days. You will not believe what I read every day that's going on in these subdivisions, and the city's not helping. I need to get all 9 of us on these Facebook pages and read them every day. This subdivision, this subdivision, this subdivision. I was shocked when I started reading this stuff. Wow. Unbelievable. That's just Brad's opinion. Thank you. Brad.
Did the developer said that they have these developments in other communities outside of the state, and I just wondered what has been your experience in terms of the residents having issues that Councilor DeReamer's talking about with mold and the noise issue and drainage issues? I'm just, and how many developments like this you have around the country so far?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to take a stab that we've probably had in the neighborhood of 400 to 500 communities around the country thus far. To answer your question, I'm not aware of any noise complaints that we deal with from any of our residents. We certainly don't deal with any drainage issues. You know, one of the things that Ross spoke about a minute ago is we provide an underground drain tile pipe that connects to the downspouts on all the roofs, and we run that and connect it to the storm sewer system, either at the rear or the front, whatever the city's preferences is, so that we don't have any runoff that goes into that side yard from the roof. The other thing that we do is we don't allow irrigation in the side yard, which are the two pieces that cause this drainage issue that we're talking about to happen. I think I missed a question. I'm
Right,
sorry.
and then this is mostly tailored for 55 plus, really. So it's really in between a demographic that's not ready to maybe go to Del Webb, but wants to like downsize and be kind of in a smaller home. Is that typically most of the people are at what age, 55? Is that the average, or do you have?
No, I would say the average is a little older. We're probably in that 70 to 75 range for our average age. But I think you hit on it that, you know, our buyers, one of the things we like to say is they're not looking for the cruise ship setting. They want a little more private setting from the neighborhood perspective as well as from their home perspective, and it's why that courtyard concept is very attractive to them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I found, in sitting on planning commission, so we've heard this a lot, and you know, I think it's a very unique design as it relates to the side yard setbacks with that private area on the side. So I was very impressed by that in the nature of what you guys are doing, and the fact of the longevity in business you guys had. So you guys aren't going to do this thing without some sort of market idea of what's going to go on with houses. And Brad, to kind of comment about a couple of your comments, if it meets zoning, we don't see it. It doesn't come to us, they just build it. So that has happened in Fishers a number of times since I've been here, because I've gotten calls about, why didn't you do this and that one? The reason why we do PUDs, in my understanding, and Megan, please correct me if I'm wrong, the developer may want something. You may want, you know, different lot frontages or different setbacks, or there could be any number of things, less permeable surface, et cetera, et cetera. But our staff is so good at pushing back to elevate these particular projects up, not down. And that was even talked about in the housing study, when you have a 0.5 stock which is out there. People are still flocking to Fishers to buy homes. We are a highly desirable community, and I think we all need to be applauded for that. We've done a terrific job as it relates to the projects that we've done coming in here. Are there problems in certain communities? Sure. Name one that's not, right? I mean, again, you're going to have certain issues. As a project as it sits, this particular project, I find to be very desirable because it's age targeted, which we talked about in the housing study. Number two, it's dealing with that side yard setback, which is algae, not mold, is terms of all that. There's no irrigation on the side. So all these things have been taken into account. And again, when we do these PUDs, we do the PUDs for a reason. The developer may come and ask for something, but we push back every single time on those developers to get something out of that. And please correct me if I'm wrong with that, Megan.
Nope, you are correct.
Okay,
so
so
it's more of a conversation, and whether it's higher architectural standards or open space standards or sustainability features, we've seen that recently. There is kind of a give and take with these PUD ordinances.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always driving those guys in the architectural standards to drive them up, all the way from the decorative garage doors to additional lightings to all sorts of things that go along with this when they're coming to ask us for that. So I don't look at that, Brad, and again, I'm not going to take offense to it because you're entitled to your opinion. I don't believe that developers are running Fishers. I think we run ourselves pretty well, and I think we do that in a very good position because we continue to be voted one of the best places to live in America. And the fact that our housing stock gets sold so quickly that people can't wait to move in here is just another affirmation of the things that we do correctly. And I certainly don't want to put it back on the public and or to understand that the staff is rolling over for these people, because I can tell you since my work on council, which has been 4 terms now, John, I think, right? 4 terms, that has never happened. Again, there's reasons for doing what we do, and there's unique situations as it relates to some of these infill projects, as it relates to PUD, that you really have to do that because you can't get it to meet all the zoning things, but you still want infill to occur. So again, the broad spectrum of things, Brad, I take issue with, and again, I respect your opinion, but again, I'm disagreeing with you on that. That again, I think we do things in a very forthright manner, and we do things to try to benefit the community, not detract from the community. So again, I think this project as it sits, for what they're trying to do in this particular location, is an awesome development with a lot of things that were thought out as it went through from the last time we saw this. And I was in favor of the last one, but I can tell you right now, the last one we looked at compared to this one is night and day a better product than what was going to be put in there prior. So again, I'm highly in favor of this particular project, and I certainly applaud the developer for working with the city and giving a lot, because we pushed back on you in a number of ways. I know that because I know I did when we were going through this process to make sure that the product we were getting is something that was highly desirable and it was going to be a benefit to the city. So thank you.
Can I respond to Pete? Pete, you just affirmed what I said. You said you want PUDs. Then let's get rid of the zoning ordinance. You said you wanted PUDs.
Yeah, so the maximum allowed per the PUD would be 65%.
Typically in other developments that we've had in the past?
I think this one in particular is unique to the point that it doesn't meet any of our current UDO standards. I think that this product would have to come for a PUD and in general, because I don't think it aligns with any of our current standards. But to your point, we see anywhere between 45 to 50, and some of these PUDs we see a little bit higher of that impervious surface. The main point about this project in itself, and that we've talked about tonight, is that the majority of that rainwater that falls on the structure of the home would be taken away from those side yards and put into that drainage system right away.
So, this is what I'm looking at. So, a person who has 35%, let's say it was impervious surface, are they paying the same stormwater bill as the person who has 65%?
Yes. They would pay the same amount.
I was gonna say, because it all goes the same.
The stormwater bill is calculated on an average per square footage of impervious surface. So it's kind of like a standard EDU per resident. It's only different for commercial. Commercial is the only one where they, yeah.
Okay, so by allowing projects like this to go in with a higher percentage of impervious surface, are we actually increasing everybody's stormwater bill? I mean, you know, one like this isn't going to affect my stormwater bill. But if we do this over a number of other times, you know, are we doing that? And what is that increase to the typical resident?
I'm thinking on my feet here. I don't,
Well, you know, with the impervious surface determined on the front end, when they go through the engineering drawings, they'll be able to design the detention to accommodate that runoff. And so it may require a higher or a wider pipe size or a larger detention area, but the developer really is the one that absorbs that cost in putting that new infrastructure in.
To answer your question, they're proposing 65% impervious, and on R2 it's 35, so they've increased it 20%, or, yeah, 20%.
Certainly appreciate everyone's comment this evening. Just to kind of give a little color of heart from a market perspective, I had one of my clients who's 83 years old come into my office today, and he's moving to Del Webb up in Westfield. And he's buying a 1,200 square foot home, and the price is $500,000. So the market, I think you're in your market from that perspective. And that's a 1,200 square foot home, a ranch. You know, and looking at this, the design of this, again, I've been over to a friend of mine's home. It's him and his wife are both in their 70s. They have this exact setup as their home. They have a courtyard that's kind of in the middle with that design, and it's done well, and it's turned out very, very well. So I like the design. I'm supportive of the project. Thank you.
Can you, if you please, put a fine point on like age targeted versus age restricted? We just heard from the housing study that one of our priorities should be housing opportunities for individuals 65 and older. How does this fulfill it? Because can you just explain the difference between age targeted, age restricted, age thoughtful? Just
Certainly.
specifically.
So age targeted would be that's the demographic that they're really marketing the product towards and gearing it towards. And so I'm sure the developer can speak a lot more to all that goes into marketing to that specific demographic. But how that differs from age restricted is that there are specific HOA restrictions in an age restricted community that actually cap it at a certain age minimum.
So again, just to put a fine point on it, age targeted means how it's marketed to the public, but there's no process in place, like it's not restricted to 65 plus. I mean, a family wanted to move in, like, right? Like, I just want to be clear about that because although it does seem very age thoughtful, we were just told an hour ago that this age demographic of 65 plus has to be something that is a demographic that we must prioritize for housing options.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, and it is targeted for this particular community. Few of the things that we do, you know, the floor plans are not very conducive to families. First, you know, with most of them coming in with 2 bedrooms. There is an option for a bonus room above the garage in all instances that they can expand upon that. But further, we do include, regardless of age targeted or age restricted in our HOA guidelines and covenants and restrictions, that things like trampolines, swing sets, so on and so forth are not allowed in the neighborhood. There are no doors to the rear yard. So, you know, when it comes to a family, young family with kids that, you know, want to use the yard,
or right.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know, we don't tell them they can't buy, but it certainly doesn't necessarily fit the lifestyle for those people, so they choose to buy elsewhere.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I am asking for a fine point on it, just for clarity. The other comment I would like to make about PUDs, we're talking a lot about PUDs. For me too, a concern that hasn't been raised, as we move from a straight zoning that's clear to a PUD, that's also affecting neighbors who have invested in this area, assuming kind of, when we're talking about undeveloped land, the zoning, the current zoning is how someone who is investing property in that area knows or can predict what's happening. So I just want to mention that that does throw off neighbors who probably assumed that things were going to progress in development one way, but then a PUD changes that. So I just wanted to make that additional point about PUDs. Lastly, I'll say my concern about this project really stems from timing. This is a corner of our community that's undeveloped until very recently. And we were just told again an hour ago from the housing study that we need to be very thoughtful and strategic about how the remaining land we have in the city of Fishers is utilized and developed for housing. So the timing, if you go back, and Megan, I appreciate your help with this, like the map that we're seeing there, there's quite a bit of housing that has come online, either been approved in development, like ready to go, and like I think probably in just 2 square miles right here, like over 600 units have come online very recently. So for me too, that's a timing issue in terms of, hey, have we taken a step back and looked at infrastructure, traffic, all those things, because this is this special corner of Fishers that is being developed very quickly, and now we need to be very thoughtful about how this remaining of the land is used. We just got this housing study. I want to be sure we get our money's worth out of it and develop policies so that when we have these opportunities, we're trying to steer our community in a place where we know we need to go. So thank you for allowing me a few moments of those comments. Thank you.
Yeah, Brooks, I have a question. I understand you're building one in Carmel and Westfield. Is it almost identical to this type of?
The concept is the same as far as the floor plans and the courtyard, the side courtyards, homes, they are identical.
Are they further along? How many, I was just curious, how many have you sold in those neighborhoods? And are you getting the market price that you mentioned? I mean,
Yeah.
Brad's neighborhood seems to, be a little bit different. And I know, heck, everything's selling for high prices today.
Sure, thank you for the question. Carmel, we just got first 7 lots of the entryway paved prior to Christmas. And we opened for sale in December, and we have around 19 homes. Last count I had 19 homes sold in that neighborhood, and the average price was just a little over $700,000. The Westfield community opened mid-December. We have 6 homes sold there, and our average price is just over $600,000. Thank you.
Todd, if I could just say one more thing. The other thing about this project is that's unique, but I feel ties into the housing study we had, is that it's 55 plus, geared to 55 plus, with universal and design and aging in place. So I think to comment on your comments, Jocelyn, it is a development where you could age in place and stay there permanently. You wouldn't have to move to a Del Webb if you didn't want to.
I have a quick question. So the average, so you said there's about 400 communities. Did I hear that right? I mean, I would just
say
a ballpark.
Over the course of time, probably
Okay.
somewhere between 400 and 500.
So in the average is 70 to 75 age. So when you say average, obviously that's an average, right? But what would you say percentage-wise is in that 55 and up?
Oh, I think it's probably close to 90, if not a little bit more, that's 55 and up.
Okay. All right.
Again, with the items that we include in the covenants and restrictions, it really is not attractive to anyone else.
Right. And one thing, Megan, if you'd step up for a second, one thing that Brad has brought up before, and I think that you've shared in other times, I want to make sure you say there's a system you have or developing to follow up on the PUDs to make sure, because I think there's a valid concern that Brad has that I just want to make sure we're following up on, that there is follow-up on this so that there's not, that view. But so is there a system that you're working on with regard to following up on enforcing PUDs?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing it up, because there are two resources that we're working on that I want to make sure you guys are all aware of, and some of them were mentioned tonight. So the first is PUD organization in general. So as was mentioned in the housing study, and we all are aware, Fishers grew tremendously over the last 40 years. And keeping track of all those developments with that growth over the last 40 years has been somewhat challenging. So it's really a priority of our department to organize all of these zoning regulations that have come with the growth that we've seen. And so a part of that is this PUD organization. So we're working on updating all of our GIS zoning layers, and one of that being the PUD layer. That would include really a cover sheet for each of these developments, and so you can really trace back the zoning history and easily identify the zoning regulations, because I think Brad has brought up a good point with really how these have been tracked over the last several years. And so it's something that we're working on and really hope to have for you all over the next month. And then the second resource I want to mention, Jocelyn had talked about the aerial that you see when we show these location maps, and how it really doesn't give you a true depiction of development out in that area, just because our aerials are about a year behind. And so we are working on a dashboard that would show real-time development out in that area. And so I just wanted to make you all aware of that as well, so that way hopefully that's a resource for both the residents in our community, but then for you all to really get a good picture of what the current development looks out like in these areas of Fishers.
I want to make sure, because like I said, I think Brad has valid points, and what happens is there's a build of frustration over the years, probably on his, and from what I'm hearing, yes, a build of frustration over years, and just want to make sure that we're following up and addressing those things as we can, because what we're doing in the community is dynamic, and it's not a cookie cutter approach, but there are some concerns out there. So we have if I recall, it was about an hour ago, a motion by Pete and a second by Selena. Am I correct on that? All right. I think we need to have a roll call vote just to make sure we're clear on who's voting. So Jennifer, would you do a roll call, please?
Todd Zimmerman,
Aye.
John Weingart,
Aye.
Pete Peterson,
Yes.
Cecilia Koval,
Aye.
Brad DeRamer, Selena Stoller, Jocelyn Vare,
Nay.
Crystal Newman,
Nay.
David Giffel.
Yes.
The vote's 6-3, it's passed.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to item 12, so we got to go.
Todd, can I make a request here? Items 12 through 17 are all voluntary annexations. I'd like to forego the staff report and vote on them individually if we can.
Do you have any objections to that? No objections?
No objection. I make a motion to
Okay.
approve item 12.
I'll second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? David, nay. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve item 13.
Motion by Pete. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Make a motion to approve item 14.
Wait a minute. I want to make sure we're right. I don't want to. That's the courtyard, so 13. Do you want to be a nay? Courtyard. Are you an aye or nay? Okay. All right. Do you have that, Jennifer? You got, okay. Everybody's an A.
It was item 13, David, that you were voting.
All right.
You voted no on item 12.
I get it, yeah.
So are you good?
Okay.
So
Move, item
make a
14,
motion to approve.
motion by Pete. Do I have a second? Second by Selena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Motion to approve item 15.
Motion by Pete, second by
Second.
John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion to approve item 16.
Motion by Pete. Second by Selena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Motion to approve item 17.
Motion by Pete.
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 19. Yes. Item 19, if I'm correct. 011822, consideration of a text amendment, various sections of the UDO.
Thank you. For the record, Ross Hillary. I'm presenting on behalf of Megan tonight. Ordinance number 011822 is a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. This ordinance came before City Council in January of 2012. Plan Commission held a public hearing on February 9th, 2012. Excuse me. Plan Commission held a public hearing on February 9th, 2022, with no public comments or remonstration, and sent a favorable recommendation to Council of 9-0. This update is a general annual update by staff that corrects minor errors, misspellings, or incorrect section references. There are no major changes to the UDO. Staff recommends council holds a final reading and approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Pete, with a second. Second by Selena. Open up for discussion. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, item 19 passes. On to item 20-022122B, consideration of vacation of 30-foot drainage utility and public sanitary sewer easements.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. For the record, Ross Hillary. Staff, ordinance number 022122B is consideration of a vacation request to vacate 15 feet of a 30-foot drainage utility sanitary sewer easement and pedestrian access easement within the High Line at Delaware Park project located south of 106th Street, east of Kincaid Drive, and west of Lantern Road. The Delaware Park PUD text amendment was approved by council in November of 2021 and is generally located south of 106th Street. The primary plat and improvement and location permit was submitted in December of 2021 and is part of the development process by A&F Engineering, the petitioner. They located a drainage utility sanitary sewer easement and pedestrian access easement that is being requested tonight to be vacated. The primary plat was approved on February 9th, and the plat committee, with the condition that City Council vacate that easement. Like I said earlier, the petitioner is seeking to vacate 15 feet of a 30-foot easement along Kincaid Drive. So the easement will remain, but it will be reduced. Two options tonight. Council can hold first reading and a public hearing on this item. Another option for council is to suspend the rules and hold a combined reading and public hearing. Staff is happy to answer any questions.
All right, we're going to open this up for public comment. Any of those wishing to speak on this item alone, step forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Seeing nobody coming forward, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and approve on first reading.
Motion to suspend the rules by Pete, second by Selena. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. And David with nay. All right.
So have first reading.
Okay, have first reading.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to this. I'm sorry? All right. Any unfinished or new business? No. Moving on to community comment. It's an opportunity for you to share any comments you have regarding anything in Fishers. Just we'll open this up. Step forward, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. My name is Michael Colby. I live in 7105 Cold Lake Drive in Fishers. The first thing I want to bring up, I'm almost reluctant to do. I was on the council when we approved the Michigan term. It was a good idea at the time.
I was wondering if you were going to take any of that or not. Yep.
In fact, I think our recently departed council member David George was instrumental in pushing, and so he might have gotten the word this was going to change, and maybe that's why he's not on the council today. The second thing I want to bring up is I'd like the town, or city rather, to consider doing a cruise-in sometime during the summer months. Right now, the Noblesville Square is where I usually take my vehicle, but because of the parking situation up there, we're not getting any spaces anymore. So if there's any way the city could take a look at sponsoring that. I know when you had your Sparks, you had one out front. Tremendous. A lot of people really, really, really enjoyed that. So if there's a way, and that certainly would bring people downtown, and that's kind of what you want to do.
I think it's a great idea. Last year, we tried it for the first time, like you said, Spark Fishers. It was very popular.
Yeah.
I see no reason why we couldn't do more of those.
I hope so.
Mike, there's also a Cars and Coffee that Tom Wood Aviation has.
Yeah, you been down to the airport?
Yeah.
Yeah, I go that one, and you know, the
FYI.
Forest Park, they have the Father's Day thing. But, you know, I mean, Noblesville's losing their grip on that, and there's a lot of people looking for a place to do that. So I think that would be something that would be a great amenity for the city. And last, I know I'm getting into my 3 minutes, guess what I'm here about? Private roads, okay? What I want to say is in January I was here, and Chris, I think you had mentioned that in about a month or so, something would probably happen with that, and I'd get a notice. Well, I haven't gotten any notice, haven't seen anything happen. And as an afterthought, when you mentioned that it was going to go to the Public Works and Safety Board, as I left the meeting, I thought, well, what happened? It was supposed to go to the council for a policy decision. So is it the Public Works and Safety Board's making policy these days? Where are we with that? I'm sorry to be rude, but.
No, it's fine, Mike, and we've talked about this a number of times. So coming from the work session that we had about 6 months ago, we had support from the council at that time to go pursue public works, private to public road projects. And where we're at with it right now, and I mentioned it to you the last time you brought it up at a public meeting, Jordan Alexander of our city staff is prioritizing those packets and roads for us with the financial considerations. There's also a couple bills that are going through the State House right now that we're tracking that might provide additional tools to the toolbox to allow us different opportunities to address these private to public road considerations. But where we'd be at is taking those to our board to bring those projects forward as they would come one by one, and then eventually a larger financial conversation that those roads would entail if we were going to bring a financing piece to that to the city council.
Okay, so that's where it goes, because, I mean, there's money, you know, how you're gonna handle that with the
there's a
merit
really
law or,
yes.
you know, however it's gonna occur. So I just didn't know whether you guys were cut out of it. And I'm on my, over my 3 minutes, but one last thing on 96th and Allisonville. Have you coordinated with Marion County?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. We've had conversations with our legal counsel there where
yeah, all right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike, and don't take it too personal about the Michigan left. Thank you for serving, yes. It worked at the time, right, that's right. All right, state your name and address for the record. You have 2 minutes, or 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Tim Haley. I live at Legacy at Hunter's Run, okay? Been a lot of talk about PUDs tonight, okay? One of the things I've been paying attention to for the last 6 months is the turnover of PUDs by the builders to the homeowners, okay? There's some problems, clearly some problems, okay? The builders convey the ownership of common area land and infrastructure to the homeowners association. And the builders provide no information to the HOAs or any walkthroughs to show them where things are. Just simple things like where are the meters, the electric meters. With the ownership transfer, HOAs get obligations and liabilities that they have to live up to. And HOAs must perform due diligence to determine the extent of those obligations and liabilities. Some of the HOAs come to the city for help in getting information like surveys, like engineering drawings, just a whole host of things, and Ross has been very helpful on that. Plats are another one, engineering stuff, and it's all needed so that the HOAs can perform their duty. These turnovers become contentious because builders reject the HOA's punch list and really don't want to, and often refuse to comply with the punch list. They just don't complete work that they are obligated to do. HOAs are unwilling buyers of unknown obligations and liabilities. HOAs have no recourse and are forced to accept builder decisions. Builders are taking unfair advantage of the HOAs. This is a process is an unregulated real estate transaction. There's some real legal issues that come up when you start looking closely at this, as I have. So what's the scope of this process? Ross could tell you how many PUDs are in construction right now, how many homes are in each one, how many people are going to be in them. It's thousands of people, okay? So it's having a negative impact on our community. What's the solution? I think the first thing is to recognize that there is a problem here, okay? I would suggest that the city assign an outside analyst to study and report on the inequities of the turnover process. Then I would suggest an enactment of an ordinance designed to regulate the builders and protect the homeowners. I'm not being super critical of the builders. They're doing their best, but they just aren't regulated, and so they can pretty much call their own shots.
Sir, we've come 30 seconds past your time. Could you submit those requests?
Yeah.
Would you mind doing that?
I've got 4 more items.
Four more items, yeah. So if
Yeah.
you could submit that.
I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you get, yeah, you can 4 more, okay.
Thank you. We'd like to see the builders required to provide notice of turnover at least 90 days in advance so that the homeowners associations can in fact do their due diligence, okay? We'd like to see the builder assemble and present to the homeowners association a turnover package. Hey, this is where this is what we did, this is all the construction stuff. We'd like to see a walkthrough. Hey, show me where the meters are, okay? Require the builders to complete the punch list, the HOA punch list, in 90 days. It's not unreasonable. Like to see these turnovers become regulated real estate transactions. Right now, they're totally unregulated. And there's real property being tracked. For example, in my little development, there's 20 acres being transferred.
Right.
If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, sir.
Other than that,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you could get that to Megan,
Yeah.
Megan can certainly make herself
You
available to you.
you have it?
Right,
Okay,
just
Jennifer's
Megan
got it.
runs the planning and
Jennifer's
zoning.
already got it.
I
Yeah.
also, sir, just to make a note too, Brad, we passed the turnover, yeah, you're not grandfathered in. That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I think that's a really good start.
Yeah.
Because it requires the builders to at least comply with the
Right.
PUD requirement. But that's not enough.
Yeah. We can certainly revisit and look at if there's other opportunities to improve that ordinance we put in place. So I'll follow up with the team, but thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Hi, good evening, everyone. For the record, my name's Josh User. I reside at 12863 Shakespeare Way. In the early spring of 2020, my wife and I decided it was time for us to upsize our home to fit a growing family. We previously lived in the Nickel Plate District, just outside of downtown Fishers here, and loved the community so much that we sought a larger home in the community. We looked at many different developers and many different existing homes before we decided to purchase an existing home that was constructed by Pulte in Avalon of Fishers. This home was 4 years old. We had heard great things about the neighborhood, and we had, within the first few neighbors we had met, were made aware of some different construction issues that had taken place and had been given a heads up to look for. We submitted an issue with our master shower. We worked with Pulte for over 10 months to get them to actually agree to take a look and actually diagnose the issue. They started demolition in March of 2021. That was 330 days ago, and they still have not restored our shower. We're still waiting on their subcontractors to come and finish the project so we can resume the use of our space. And I say this is in regards to show that Pulte will cut corners at any opportunity that they get if it's beneficial to them in a financial obligation. During a recent visit to Hunter's Run development, which is just next door to Avalon, I noticed that there's some parking areas for the model homes that weren't compliant with potential parking regulations under the UDO. I reached out to the city and found that the standards had changed and weren't being enforced at the time of construction, even though construction occurred after the UDO was updated in July of 2018. Further research revealed that there was no temporary use permit for the latest constructed model home, which is required by the UDO. And working with the city, it felt like the city was responding in the best interest of the developer and not responding to protect the citizens of Fishers, Indiana. It was proposed that Mayor Fadness reach out directly to Pulte to see if they'd be willing to extend the parking areas so that way you could pass through on the sidewalk. After all, a few yards of concrete isn't going to make or break a large national developer. Pulte Homes, an organization that prides itself on their high standards of following their warranty policies and obligations to an absolute T, it's really reasonable to expect them to be held to the same degree when it comes to local standards. I could go on and on listing examples where Pulte tries to minimize their financial obligations of compliance, but I will spare you those details this evening. I'm not upset that we had issues with our home. I'm upset that Pulte's not willing to stand behind them. I'm not here to ask the city to come out and fix my home, but I am asking that the city would apply the rules that they pass in a fair and equitable manner. I'm sure that there's a significant number of people that have had to go before the Board of Zoning Appeals that have not been given the same leniency that these developers get every single day that they're operating in our community. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Did you practice that? You were like right at 3 minutes. That was really good.
I rehearsed it.
That was impressive. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Abraham Wondergem, 16331 Loire Valley Drive. In 38 days, Britton Falls will transfer ownership from Pulte to residents. No free election by residents was allowed. A hand-picked committee by Pulte was selected for our representation to negotiate fair transfer settlement. The Pulte board president was quoted as saying, "We don't want no troublemakers on the committee." Committee members were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements, not allowed to take questions at meetings, and the committee is still trying to obtain answers from issues from months ago. For 5 years, financial statements have been sought. December 2021, we finally received them, but they were never audited. Meaningless numbers on paper, financial solvency is a huge concern. Pulte has knowingly and willingly violated the PUDs of 2006 and 2013. We were told we owe $141,000 for a loan of $400,000 to construct a secondary community building required under the 2013 PUD. The budgets from 2013 to 2022 show no line item disbursement required under Article 8 of the original 2006 PUD for repayment of any loans. Article 8 stipulates that the budget funded by resident monthly assessments cannot include during declarant control original construction, installation of infrastructure, or original capital improvement. The loan document magically appeared in January of 2022. No residents had ever seen it before. Pulte's contract states that the loan is for making discretionary capital improvement or purchasing capital assets. The loan was not for capital improvement of an existing building, and no capital asset was required. The loan was and is prohibited as it was for original construction, prohibited under the 2006 original PUD. The Pulte lawyer representing all legal matters for Britton Falls, funded by our budget, agreed. An illegal loan. He was replaced. Residents had no choice on the standard building is required or the enhanced $400,000 addition. No regard was given to the residents responsible for payment or terms or conditions that applied, and no referendum was held. Violation of the 2013 amended PUD are numerous. Drainage, mowing, ponds, trees issues, all unresolved. PUD requires yearly maintenance. Pulte standard is delay and Band-Aid maintenance of grounds and facilities. This is why Councilman DeReamer in 2018 was so passionate about requiring an independent inspection prior to turnover to residents by developers. Pulte asked council to ignore 6 zoning standards on the Lehman project. Tonight, I counted another 11 from a developer on a project you considered tonight. Adherence and enforcement of PUD standards along with zoning standards should be strengthened and prioritized. Breaking the law is bad for anyone, companies or individuals. It's not about how much assessed valuation for tax purposes are added. It's about a quality environment for the city of Fishers, Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, with that, I'll close the community. I'm sorry. Okay.
Roland Schlote, 16501 Southeastern Parkway, resident for over 40 years. I've seen a lot going on in this town. And this development, we just fought this thing. You know, the investors and developers are taking priority over residents' valid present and future issues created by saturation of housing developments. This parcel should be developed in R2 or larger. The UDO guidelines, which are more stringent than the PUDs, who are self-governing. Decisions by city officials have taken place discussing how to develop unincorporated prime real estate owned by area residents and eliminate our chosen lifestyle in a rural setting with the original intent for estate homes. Seemingly, this Epcot is marketed as a senior community without any age restrictions, useful amenities like a swimming pool, fitness facility, pickleball court that you would expect, not just rain barrels and a walking path. You know, and so typically a true senior community do not allow families with children, okay? And as you're aware, the Indiana Gun Club shoots 7 days a week and often into the night. Also, many of the neighbors enjoy legal target practice on their unincorporated properties. This will be a huge conflict with retirement-style living. There are numerous issues with this proposed senior living development. It does not fit the 2040 plan. High-density housing in an area with estate-style homes, conflict and no benefit to existing residents, adding to existing traffic and school issues, depreciation of property values, and other valid reasons. The Plan Commission and Mr. Steve Harden have ignored areas residents' concerns and crystal clear position on high-density developments. Basically the same plan, 6,000 square foot lots, 1,600 square foot homes. Now this was voted down in 2020, only to be approved in a questionable meeting 3 days before Christmas. Apparently a deal was orchestrated to approve Grantham upon the retraction of the 22 acres. Assuming the agreement will be honored and can trust present and future decision by the majority of city council members will represent and address valid concerns of existing residents who are they supposed to be representing and not priority to developers or possible future home buyers. If approved, would strongly adhere to the definition of spot zoning which I have provided. I gave you an updated map. This map that these developers use that come up here, they don't show all these homes. Everybody knows this area is just saturated with homes. And you're gonna approve up here at Geis Manor, the size of those lots are 12,000 square foot or bigger. You just approved Grantham, those houses on 113th are half-acre lots. And everybody else has 5 acres or more. So now you're gonna stick this type of community where we're at. You know, we worked hard to have what we have. Now everybody wants what we have. Because face it, you know, you're running out of real estate in Fishers. And so I want you to look at the pictures I sent. The back of my property, I showed a couple areas there where they've cleared cut everything. They cut 3 acres of trees that bordered my property. No problem. What benefit do I get? And then there are developments that I believe is Lucina. They're on, it's on Cynthia Ann Road. That was a 21-acre parcel, and they put 8 lots in there. In less than 1 year, they were sold. And the minimum size was like 1.5 acres and then larger.
All right,
That's what
thank
this
you,
area
sir.
should be.
All right, thank you, sir.
It's the same old story.
Anyone else? Step forward, state your name and address for the record. If not, I'll close the community comment portion. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. We're adjourned.